Oisvog. Das Funes verstanden bei jedem Einig was kommt der Funaris Tzadikim. From what we explained before, we can understand also this idea of the delight that comes for the tzaddikim. But thus the Pirish and Divrei B'Shua ben Levi, this is the explanation, the meaning of what B'Shua ben Levi says. As we said, in the future, the Eibishter is going to give every tzaddik 310 worlds. The Rambam is mevaz. This made as a tiny for Elam Haba is shalish meis pam be'eser pamim ikol hatanugus Elam Hazet, which comes which, as the Rambam explains, this statement that the delight experienced in Elam Haba is 310 times greater than all the delight in Elam Hazet. Das ist nicht der Einig von den Tzadikim wie seine für sich, Blasch nach Chassidus, der Nachas Ruach der Beire, der Nachas Ruach, was wird beim Jiden als Schar, was hat mit keinem gewinnt dem Ebersten so zu nur, das ist der Teil von Ebersten, Keviocha, Nachas Ruach der Beire, kommt einfach Chazal, Nachas Ruach der Fona, Shamati ben Asher Tzeni. This is not the delight derived by Tzadikim as they exist on their own right, as Chassidus says, the gratification of created being. In other words, a gratification felt by a Yid in having fulfilled, like recompensating for having fulfilled Hashem's will. Rather, it's as if, as they were experiencing the Eibishter's gratification. As the Chacham say, it's a source of gratification for me as I spoke and my will was fulfilled. Since the Yidden are a single entity with the one who bequeaths, in other words, Hashem, it's as if they can inherit the greater delight. When the Rambam is gleich mit Baz, das was im Shub Levi nust am Misper for Shlish Meis and Esrei, and Al-Derech Ha'or Bilvad, but the Emes is a satanic built-in Mugbal. The Rambam says that this, that Rabbi Shub Levi says, the number 310, it's rhetorical. Really, it's just for the listener to listen. But in the truth, however, the Rambam says this delight is much greater. Und das ist der Chilek zwischen Schar Mitzvahs und Hanfel Oyev Yesh. Now, this is the difference between the reward for mitzvahs and Hashem bequeathing Yesh to those who love me. Where Tainig was kommt an zum Adam als Schar Haveda, was Kabul Schar weiß ist, der Mekabal, Schar ist am Metzies für sich, wenn man darf baloinen für seine Arbeit, is a tiny lift on Adam als in Nivra can vernehmen. Now, the reward for his avodah can only match the capacity inherent in a created being to experience, which means the receipt of the reward. Mashenke der Inyan von Ausdruck Baruch Lahanas Yesh is the Nachas Ruach Lebeira and Inyan von Yesh HaMichlet, was das nicht der Inyan von Schar Mitzvah, no, das ist die Etzem Mitzvah. Und das kommt an zum Adam b'derech nachle, weil is ein Zach Kaviyachah with an Eberstein. Now, in contrast, when you say in the future the Eberstein is going to give the Yesh, which means those who love me, speaks of the Creator's delight, something concerning Yesh HaMuchlet. This is not the manner of reward for performing mitzvahs, it's the essence of the mitzvahs itself, and this is the divine light. It is inherited by every person. It's as if the person were a single entity with Hashem. Zion. Thus is their time for Vaster and Lahansel Yesh is L'Oyav Dafkin. This is why it's specifically to those who love me that Hashem will give this inheritance. Wie kann der Adam zukommen zum Ingen von Lahansel Yesh, based as Oist sein Avedes and Azar Eifen, as it tracht nicht wegen sich, nor tut den ganzen Lishma für ein Eberstens wegen. As long as a person is concerned with the reward or with himself, he can't become let me just go. This is why specifically we say those who love me that Hashem will give. Because when can a person attain this level? In other words, to bequeath yesh to those who love me, when he also conducts his avodah with no thought of himself. Rather, he performs his avodah entirely for his own sake, which to gratify Hashem. Because man da tracht wegen ein Schosschar, der wegen sich befall sein Aliyah ist nicht shaykh, as soll werden ein Zach mit der Yesh HaMuchot und mit Tzis HaTmidis, was is a God to have to forget another run. As long as a person is concerned with reward or with himself, he can't become a single entity with Yesh HaMuchot and constant existence, which completely transcends the created being. Dafke wenn seine Avodah ist ein ganz Lishma. Nicht kein Metzies für sich. Trach nur wegen dem Etzem am Mitzvah, was der Fun, wird der Nachas Ruach von Shamarti, wenn das Shemini, wird der Oisi Atam Leichem Mela Hanchal Yeveyesh. Specifically, when a person conducts his avodah entirely for his own sake, when he does not act as an independent entity at all, he only thinks about the essence of the mitzvah. Like it says, like he's making a nachas before me, before I spoke and my will was fulfilled. You're taking me, comes out, and Hashem will then bequeath yesh to those who love Him. Al derech, we can mean gefinden halacha as an emes eved al piteres emes is a nit kemitzias for sich. Then God's mitzias is mitzias adam. We find this, for example, in halacha by a servant. The true servant is defined that he has no independent existence. His entire existence is the existence of his master. Und das ist der Emes in dem, was die Mishnayos Lifrei sie reden wegen Haveres Diburim, Berim, Chalas Tavash, aber die Avodah von Jiden in dem Eifen von der Shema ist angedeiht in dem, was die Jiden seinen zugelassen geworden zum Deberim. Wie steht im Medrash? Deberim hayu wanai. Ma hat Debeir Aziz, kol mish in Misagelas Tabayla, kach, kol mash yisol, Misaglim, Nitzis, Maisim Teir, and Misaglim Navim Shavashamayim. Now, this is also, we said, the illusion, we said that the Mishnayos speaks about beehives and honeycombs. For the Avodah of a Yid, when conducted for its own sake, it signified to liking Jews to bees. As the Medrash says, my children were like bees. Just as all that a bee collects, it collects on behalf of its owner, so too all the mitzvahs and good deeds that a Yid collects are collected for the Eibishter. Likkutei as the Avodah Beifen Zeh kommt von der Hakora as Tatas am Machaben. But it's other many bishul adam at for the vad Asher Emes Al Yasin Iflamed and calls Zeh Lezu Levad who Tatas am Machaben came the Chvedi Sparach Weimer Chazal and the race of the Shamash Kenny. As explained in Likkutei, this form of Avodah stems from the awareness that the ultimate objective is in man's creation is not just for the sake of the person himself, despite his having an ascent through the Avodah performed in the world. Being truly wondrous, this alone is not the ultimate objective. Instead, the objective is Hashem's glory. This is similar to the statement, like we said a few times, I was created to serve the one who made me, who formed me. Ches. Based on this, we can explain now the relevance of the Mishnah to the Machlekes of Bisham Beis regarding a honeycomb. And let's preface. In dem Loshen Hanafel Kateteris Wudrish, as the Pale kommt zu der Adam durch seine Avodah Lamata von Aliyah Flammeid, is not as Levadu Tachas Machaven. It comes out that from the Likkutei he emphasizes, the Alter Rebbe emphasizes that a person does in fact reach an incredibly wondrous height through his Avodah conducted below in this world. It's just that this alone is not the ultimate objective. And thus is the Chilik Zushishidus Beishamai was halten as a Linen Basur Keach, or Shittas Bezil as Linen Basur Peil. Or if we tif the Indian the Aliyah is Tevis Makim. This lies the Machlekes between Misham and Beis. We focus on the potential, and Beis says we focus on the actual. They're in a disagreement as to what the extent is the concept of the significance. Ebe was Linen Basur Bekeach as the Iker from Yeder Indian. Is wie steht Bekeach Kumteis. As the Yedidus in the Shalom Matat, the Bepeil took lit oif kein Maila Chadasha, and then the Shamel Gabe wie is given kleine Miridasi. Or the Iker Indian Keach if durchführen die Avodah Lamata ist schon da in der Neshama, nor Eder is Yizeri Lamata. If we focus on the potential state, then everything should primarily be regarded according to its potential state. It would come out that the Neshama's descent below in actualization brings no new advantage to the Neshama over the state of being before his descent. The primary element, its potential to carry out the Avodah below, existed in the Neshama before it descended below. No, for Mary, even more so. Neither than that, and I feel it haben dem Pale, also beginnen if Keach and Neshama zu durchführen ihr Avodah Lamata. Was ist als sichere Sache, safe, at jeder Neshama durchführen in Stirres Ba'amadin, kann immer, the built to Yidach Mer Nidach, we gab ze Iker, klappe Shmaya, Galia, Azivet, das durchführen. Now, in this instance, the Neshama's fulfillment of its potential and actuality is not even required to prove that the Neshama's potential for conducting Avodah below would come out, After all, it's certain that every neshama will ultimately fulfill its mission in this world. As it says, no yid is going to be left behind. Moreover, at this point is also the key to the neshama's destined fulfillment. Already Hashem knows about it. Kumdei, so it comes out, as Lud, Bishama is Nitakin, or Suzagan, as the Aliyah Niflo, from them Adam, is an Uftim, Vichidish, was sleep them, Darf Zanid is an Hashem Lamata Bepel. Und das, was in der Neshama is the Mata is, the Gamin Nitzlin and Ilay was very Ufgetan, the Neshama Nur Blaze, the Sagal about that. The Durf friend, the Kavana from Eberstein, was the Sagal of the Sparachol, the Sparach, the Libertachtenim. But for them, Ingen is nicht genug, was the Neshama Betir zu machen, die Dira. The Tachten darf Bepel, standen werden, zu sein dearly Sparach, das muss sein, die Pula in the Tachten Mille, it is the Neshama Lamata Bepel. So according to Bisham, it comes out that there's no room to say that this wondrous ascent reached by a person through his avodah adds anything new to the neshama should it is said in actuality. The neshama does not need, the neshama taka comes down to this world only to collect for its owners, to fulfill Hashem's intention. Hashem desired that there should be data b'tachtenim. For this, it would not suffice for the potential to create this abode contained by the neshama. Instead, the lower realms must be transformed into the abode for Hashem. This action must be executed in the lower realms, so the neshama has to come down into this world. As a little basim pale, kumdeis as the yidis and neshama lamata tutu van meile ois in der neshama was sie hat früher nicht gehabt, weil dafür durch die yidis lamata brings sie ein reis. Ihre keches من akech lepel was late Basil is thus the iker for jeden ihnen. However, Basil maintains that we focus on the actual. So it follows that the neshama's descent below does not bring some advantages as well to the neshama, which it lacked before, and for it specifically through the soul's descent that its potential abilities comes to be realized. When we say this actualized state is the key element for every objective. The Rebbe late Beisilal Afal P as the Iker in from the Neshama Matas the Shvedi Sparach and in the Shamash Keni if they to durchführen the Kavanah for dir Brechim und das darf sein die Kavanah von der Madam Marvadas von des Wegen is an Avedel Mat and he was tut auf Ashidish Eich in them. Now, so therefore, Basil maintains that even though we say the main descent is for Hashem's honor, I was created to serve Hashem only for the one who formed me to fulfill the plan of making dir b'tachtenim as needs to be done, be the person's goal when conducting his avodah. And nevertheless, the person's avodah below also creates something new for him. Tests. The Chile Canal. Zwischen Bishama Basil git euch as Baden sehr Pluxel. Halal Bishama Imrim Nechle Ladam Shlenivra Yisem Shnivra, Halal Basil Imrim Nechle Ladam Shnivra Yisem Shlenivra. Imrim Gamro Nechle Ladam Shlenivra Yisem Shnivra Achshav Shnivra Yifasher for myself. Now, this distinction mentioned between the Machlekes and Bishama Basil also we could explain another Machlekes. Bishama maintains it would have been preferable for man not to have been created rather than have been created. Basil maintains it was preferable for a man to have been created rather than not have been created. And what happened? They took a vote, and it was decided that it would be preferable for men not to have been created rather than to have been created. But now that they have been created, so the man should examine his behavior. That's the Gemara. Likkutei explains what's the meaning of this Maimer Chazal. Sie sagen, nicht tev leishle nivra, was ist bewahrheit da teva for the neshama durch die das lamata, was he bakum den ali gedela when he fled in case. It doesn't say tev loy. It's good that he was not created because at the end of the day the neshama is good that the neshama comes down and it gets an aliyah. The pshat is neach v'kal hayinedishin leishle nivra. The tachlis and machavim v'riyasi is as loy yav the gan mei l'kabel pras or bez the shamash is kenny. Was das is an avida kosher b'yeser. Which is neich v'kal leit as only therefore in ton. What it means to say is, what does it mean? It means that the Likkutei explains that the meaning is they don't say it would be good for a man not to have been created, since the neshama's descent is surely it brings a wonder. Rather, the meaning is that it would have been preferable and easier that man should not have been created. This is because the ultimate objective of this creation is not that he works for his own interest to receive reward. Rather, the ultimate objective of his creation is only to serve the Eibishter for them. Since it's incredibly difficult avodah, it would have been preferable and easier for him not to have been required. Okay. So stellt sich die Scheile, was ist die Haber von Beis zu sagen, als Neach v'kal leila adu shnivra yesim mishlei nivra. So now the question is, why was Beis consideration that led to him to say it's preferable and easier for man not to have created rather than to have been created? Is the beer in the Leit Beis Shammai is tak milchat chila poshut as there. Is there beer in the Leit Beis Shammai is tak milchat chila poshut as there gone to infinite and Hashem lamata is not b'shvalis and Hashem ner blaze the chvidi sporach. Who can ask the balis and Hashem darf man die Rida bepils is genug der Kech. Weil es poshut as nech leiladus the nivra of von ihm lei is nitaki chiddish durch chiddish lamata. This is not the chvidi sporach. According to Beis Shammai, it was indeed obvious from the outset that the entire purpose of the Neshama's descent below is not for the ascent of the soul, but only for Hashem's honor. As mentioned above, the Neshama's potential would have been sufficient to bring about this ascent. The Neshama should not require an actual descent. It would have been obvious, therefore, that it would have been preferable for man not to have been created, as the descent below brings him nothing new. It's only for Hashem's honor. Shegelet Beis is done or to Zaganas is the well, wenn wollte nicht nivra geworden, oder kein Scheiter der Gad zu der Aliyah gedeelt in the following case. Bala says the teinig der Fun, was the Neshama hat von der Aliyah Asar Gnesser wie der Zar an Neshama wie der Lamata, bis es ist nicht leid für Nivra. Feeling dik, as das wird bringen an Aliyah Nifla, teinig as wir lamist, und it's the Zar wie le Nivra und nicht haben kein Scheiter zu der Aliyah gedeelt in Nifla. According to Beis Hillel, one can claim that a person's creation was a good thing from our perspective. Had he been created, he would not have had any connection to the infinitely great and wondrous ascent. As it is, the delight that the neshama derives through its ascent is greater than the pain of his ascent below. So much so, it was preferable to have been created, being aware of the wondrous ascent that the neshama would achieve thereby, despite its present pain, and not to have been created and not relate to all the wondrous ascent. Aber nimnu v'gavar v'nech l'al mishli nivram yismish nivram. Afa pi as the neshama with the pale tzukum b'des l'mata, so liya gdil v'nifoli in cases, aber nicht das, darf sein machshebe as adam shasa v'yosei. Darf ton sein aber den ganzen Lille gar mit der Kauprasla. Plötzlich schauen wir Shemini, gar mit Trachten, der Existenz sich in seiner Aliyah, und davon ist nicht v'kal leish l'nivram mish nivram. Nevertheless, a vote was taken, and it was decided that it's preferable for men not to have been created rather than have been created. Although the neshama will achieve the infinitely great and wondrous ascent, in actuality, through its descent, this must not be a person's motive of serving Hashem. He must conduct his avodah selflessly, without consideration of reward. Instead, the person's sole motive should be to serve the one who formed him. If you think neither of himself nor his spiritual standing, it's preferable and easier for a man to have been created than not to have been created. Thus is there, if the Shaitas, the Mishnah from Chalis Dvash, the Mishnah also has the this is also the connection between the Mishnah of the honeycomb and the final Mishnah, the future they were still will be with. Free bring the Mishnah plus Bisham Bisil to Ablun Zin Basar Kech, other Basar Bepeo, Basar Fiza, will given on order to Zagan as the last Bisilos, the Alice Scar Adam, the Yukatam, the Akapanan, Atam Shava from Zan Yerida. Mishnah first cites the Machlaikas in Bisham Bisil, whether we focus on the potential state or the actual state. On this basis, one might assert that the opinion of Bisilo would be that the person's subsequent ascent and reward is the primary person, or at least the reason of his descent below. It is the Mishnah manager bedugmas for Ninu v'Gamar now as Bishum Levi also that Prophet Hanafal Yeveyesh Kul Ama for Mishnah Akademis Oif La Das Bisil is the Matana Batachas Avidish on the Shama Matanit is Sarah Leonor with the Dvash from the word and the Saga about that. So do it for the Tini when Kavanas the Shagos Baruch was Tziflis and then must the Neshama with Ein Zaf to be offered with the Yeshamukh the Mitzvah to the. And so the Mishnah continues and says. The Mishnah continues, it says, similar to the incident when a vote was taken and I was decided, Shua Levi said, in the future the Ebershter will bequeath the Yesh to those who love me. All opinions in the previous Mishnah, including Bisil, agree that the purpose and objective of the Aveda conducted by the soul below is not the reward and ascent, but rather similar to the intention behind the beast productive of honey that collects on behalf of the donor. To fulfill Hashem's intent, this is expressed by the idea of the soul, so to speak, becomes a single entity with a Yesh and Michlat and a continuous existence. Alpha P kein meint es nicht, als wird legamri nicht sein, kein Schar, weil fahrt der Neshama. Wird sein, und der Fire bringt dem Shubalevi, if the Hemshach Apostle wie was kommt noch der Wert Handel ist, which is Sam Amali. Was das geht auf die Etsche schon gerade speziell Tzadikim bei dem Hase, bald der Eberster ist eine Mekapech Schar Kolberia, but kommt der Eber der Neshama, ich kann ihn Schar als Livra. Nevertheless, this doesn't mean that the Neshama doesn't receive the reward or ascent. This also occurs. Therefore, if Shimon Levi says, the continuation of the pasuk, which says, "And I shall fill the storehouses," alluding to the stores of the tzaddikim. Since Hashem does not withhold the reward of any creation, the soul also receives a form of reward. Aber der Ingen von Etzem Amale bringt nicht Rabbi Shimon Levi in sein Etzem Amaimer, also Gleich Baruch Lahanach Lamal Tzem, nor Blaze with the Agab, bringing the pasuk Lahanach Leviyish, while in sein Etzem Amaimer, weil in sein Etzem Amaimer redt wegen der Iker Stemmislas, in der Kedei zu andeit der Rief, dem Sag of Shütter, schon Shabbat was kommt der Kafel, when it tables Mokum the Gabi Yisham, will bring the Rief, them Sim Voskowitz the same amount. However, this idea that I will fill the storehouse is not conveyed by Rishub and Levi in the actual teaching. In the future, Hashem will bequeath all storehouses. Instead, this idea is mentioned only in passing when citing the pasuk to bequeath yesh to the loving. This is because the subject of the actual statement of the primary perfection in the future it is only to also allude to the Neshama's reward, which is received secondarily, and is of no significance in the face of the Yesham Mukhla. The Rishub and Levi also says the conclusion of, I will fill the storehouses. Well, you can say, since you do as lost as it would sein, Allah beis Shammai was any from the beginning was min ken themselves. I don't know how we know when the Shach comes. Allah is on be like Bisil, the Shammai. When the other filled them, it says Allah for Bisil. Omen sagt dem Adam as and avoided to do if von alienem. Shaken as love when let us fit sein. Der Venigla kvid Hashem roko bas yak the Bishan Diber, but even on Vern the pale. Ein Zach when the Yesham Buchlan, it is that zumindest that was that in the Tzias, all the damage to this Magam sein. Der Gatzer uftu vet bashtain plays in the Hanchel Yevish. Now, why do we see the halachas like Bisil nowadays? Why? Because according to Bisil, because it's a person's aware of his existence, so he needs to be told that his avodah also elevates him. However, when Mashiach comes, when the glory of Hashem will be revealed, and the glory together will see that the mouth of Hashem speaks, and the Yidon will actually be a single entity, the Yesh HaMuchlat, in the continuous existence. A person's own existence will be entirely no importance. The only motive of a Yid will be to bequeath Yesh to those who love it. And therefore, Shubban Levi Gufa was redt wegen dem Zman der Lasset, und in dem Gufa, Sim Mamsteins, wie die sich stehen, Achtig, Marabe, die Matze der Stem Zatzadek, sollte nur aus der Sprache der Hanfel von Zatzadek und Zatzadek. Nur, als wie der Limmer am Mischte ist fort bei dem Hase, bedenkt der Rief, dem Sim Akosowitz, Sim Amali, als der Eberster wird for this reason, Yeshua Levi himself, who discusses when Mashiach comes, this teaching is recorded at the conclusion of the Mishnah, because the ultimate state of Tzaddikim only mentions that in the future the Ebershter will bequeath. However, it says the study of the Mishnah does take place in this world. Yeshua Levi also cites the conclusion of the pasuk, I will fulfill the storehouses, that Hashem will also fulfill the storehouses of Tzaddikim.